time once again to slip into your camo, grab your bow, and join us out in the field for another episode of the Up North Journal, presented by Pse Archery. The Up North Journal crew is knocked and ready to rock for another exciting adventure. So let's step outside and hit the trail.
This episode of the Up North Journal podcast is brought to you by
Pse Archery, Yamaha Outboards, Better the Hunt, EZ Kut, Packer Max, Deer Camp Coffee, Buck Baits, JPO Game Calls, Limwalker Game Calls, Wild Seasoning, Total Peep, Sunrise Archery, Scent Lock, and Scent Blocker.
Welcome back to another episode of the Up North Journal, everybody. I'm host Mike Adams, sitting in the cabin tonight. Toasty a little bit in here. We got the heat rolling. Try to warm it up a little bit with none other than Dan DeFaw. What's going on, Danny?
Well, it's Thursday night. We're back live. It's January. It's a little cool, like you said. But when we're talking about tack, you know it's going to be warmer.
That's right.
So,
That's
and plus,
right. It's coming.
think spring, right?
All right.
And I tell you what, I can't wait to get there. It's getting get that winter thing going. Like, come on. All right.
I'm done with winter.
I
Let's
know,
go.
right?
Yep. All right. Let's talk about people who help us.
Let's do that. Well, folks, let's start off with Buck Baits. Everybody knows Buck Baits. Deer Camp Outfitters, otherwise known as, they do have a brick and mortar store at 15 in Dodge Park in Sterling Heights. So if you're in southeast Michigan, get on over there and stop it and check it out. And if you visit buckbaits.com and you use the promo code UNJ20, you'll get 20% off your order. So go on over there, check what they got. They're always adding something to the lineup over there.
There you
go. Packer Max.
I don't have that one.
You don't have that one?
Nope.
All right.
So go to the next one.
So I'll go to the next one. We'll talk with Packer Max during the show anyways. UNJ10 at JPO Outfitters, JPOGameCalls.com, UNJ10 for 10% off your order. Anytime, get over there, check what they got out on the website. Get your call now.
Actually, I just saw them pop in. They are here in the cabin tonight. So if you got
nice.
any questions about their calls, you guys can have a nice little chat while you're listening to us talk.
Right? And I tell you what, we're drinking wall hanger tonight. And if you want 10% off your order at deercampcoffee.com, use the promo code UNJ10 to get 10% off your order when you check it out. We're drinking wall hanger today, which is a nice dark roast.
Yep, and we also got our medium roast with our label on it.
And don't forget, when you're shopping, pick up a bag of UNJ coffee. It's a nice medium roast. It has their own label.
There you go.
And
what's the temperature right now up north?
I tell you what.
In lovely Escanaba.
You mean in Newberry?
Newberry, not Escanaba.
Newberry, it's 10 degrees.
A balmy 10.
Balmy 10. So it would be a nice night on a Thursday night to go over to Cedars, get a pizza, and get some Deer Camp coffee right over there.
There's a car on the street. They don't have a lot of snow on the ground either.
There does not look like they have that much snow, believe it or not. I know they got it piled up over there, but
yeah.
I don't think for this time of year they have as much.
No, you can see the sidewalk there where they've got it shoveled. Between that and the street, there's what, 3 or 4 inches there?
Looks like it, absolutely. So, but that's up in the UP, but we're down here in southern Michigan.
That's right. Well, we may be in southern Michigan, but I'd say we take it just a little bit further south. What do you say?
Well,
let's go to Indiana.
I think we go to Indiana and we bring in a longtime viewer of the show and listener. And we decided to have him on because he's also an ambassador for EZ.
What's going on, Mr. Mark Coleman?
Well, good evening, fellas. How are you?
We're nice and toasty warm for once here in the cabin.
Yeah, we're balmy 16 here.
Is that okay? We're about the same.
We're the same temperature, but you told us before we went on live that you got a fresh half-inch of snow before us.
So. Yes, I did, and really want to get into the woods just with all those coyotes that we have on the property. Opening the woods up a little bit of snow like this would make it ideal.
Got a few coyotes down there. That's what I've seen on the trail cam photos you've been sending us.
Oh, yeah.
So tell us a little bit about yourself. Let's get to know the man, the myth, the legend they call Mark Coleman. He is an EZ Kut ambassador himself, like us. So tell us a little bit about you.
Well, I was able to get my EZ Kut start with the Deer Turkey Expo in Indianapolis. Actually, was up there 3 years ago and met some fine individuals, and they sold me my first set of ratchet pruners. And then I went back the following year and ended up getting the loaded Sling pack. And there's not a better tool for the woods, in my opinion. It just amazes me. I've been a hunter, an outdoorsman, probably last 40 years. Everything from deer to turkey, mushroom hunting for the morels, fishing, love fishing, just an all-around, love to be in the woods. That's my happy place.
You know, last week we had Bill Friedrich on talking about his book, and we were showing some photos, and you were trying to scope out where the morels that he had come from.
Yeah. I need an up north place because when the season ends down here about the first week of May, I want to go north and continue that hunt.
Well, you just have to truck on up here. I'm sure we can find a couple places where there might be a mushroom or two, maybe even three. You know,
if they're there, I'll find them.
Well, you know what? Maybe we have you up and you can show us some of your hunting skills on the morels, because the
Absolutely,
only ones I found, I've just kind of fell into them. You know,
right? Exactly. I don't go hunting for them myself unless we're out.
Yeah, I'm a tree hunter, so I identify the trees, and that's kind of where I get the most out of my hunt. So I'm not spending 6 hours wandering around in circles. Is I look for certain trees, go there first. That seems to be where I get my big bang for my buck there.
There you go. All right.
Well,
we'll have to pick his brain.
We will have to pick his brain because I wouldn't mind knowing how to cook up some morels.
Oh, I can
I'll show you that too. Yeah,
I can show you how to cook them up. I'll show you how to eat them.
Well, have him cook them. You know, but so you're obviously a turkey hunter as well.
Yep. Been hunting turkeys just recently here the last 3 years, doing it all archery style, and have not been successful yet. But I've had some jakes come in really close, decided to pass. Really waiting on a big tom to be my first one.
There you go. They say go big or go home, right?
That's right. Plus, it gives me more opportunities to be in the woods.
There you go. I've always been accused of that in the past. I was like, the reason I never bring anything home so I can go back out, and I'm like, no. That's not. Right. That's not the reason.
Exactly.
I like to go ahead and tag out, and then I can go play in the woods.
Right.
Not have to worry about hunting so much.
And you like to go out and do some fishing. What's your favorite fish to go after?
Smallmouth bass for sure. There's a creek here 5 minutes from the house that's just loaded with them. So it's easy to get off work, jump in the truck, 10 minutes you're in the creek, wade in that creek. The eagles have a nest right down here by the house, so it's good to see the big eagle's nest. And just, take your ultralight gear and have a field day with anything that gets on the other end of that line.
Well, speaking of the outdoors, what's your favorite thing to do that's not hunting or fishing related, just to get in the outdoors? You got any other side things you like to do?
So I'm experimenting with food plots on the farm, and of course want to keep that deer herd healthy, but I'm also blazing trails and keeping the woods from taking back what I've taken from it as far as cleaning up trails and making access routes. And it's a full-time job, walking the fence rows, keeping the trees off the fence rows around the property. It's just a passion. I love to be out there in the woods anyway, and then to get something accomplished that you can look back at and go, I did that.
Right.
It makes me feel good. Yeah,
you talk about habitat and even providing food for deer, along with cover and all that, and just kind of shaping the woods. I mean, that passion hit me about 5, 6, 7 years ago. And there is something very satisfying when you look back and you go, man, I really, I did that, or, me and the guys did that, and look at it now. I mean, look how everything has changed. And we do a lot of logging at our place, and it's just amazing that the difference we've made over the last 5, 6, 7 years.
Oh, yeah.
So I tell you what, that's a true statement. Like you're working the farm, Mike works up at his place, and I work up at my place. And you sit there, and whether you're going up in the spring or you're up there in the middle of the summer, and you're working on whatever, a food plot or a trail or something. But then the satisfying, really for me, is when you're sitting there out in the woods, you're out hunting, and all of a sudden maybe a deer comes down that trail that you created. They just come right in, and you're like, wow.
And then you continue to take him down that trail and put him in the back of your truck and put him in your freezer.
Well, yeah, that's true too. Or you or in another case, you see him out in the field feeding, and you worked on that all summer long. Food plotted it, and now you see them out there. And like Mike said, they end up in the back of the truck.
Yeah, yes, they do sometimes.
So like 2 years ago, I planted 100 persimmon trees on the property. And, they were little fingerlings. They weren't as big around as a pencil, but I planted 100 persimmon trees hoping that 10% will survive. And maybe if they get big enough at the time that I'm, hopefully out there still hunting 10, 15 years from now, they'll produce a bumper crop, help draw those deer into that space. But I guess the other thing I like to do is maintenance and safety is a big concern of mine when it comes to deer stands. So I'm always out there making sure they're safe, building platforms to put those blinds on. It's just a labor of love.
Well,
You're right.
If he enjoys that, we're gonna have to have him up at our place and do some work.
You buy the lumber, I'll build it.
There you
Actually,
go.
it's funny we talked about this. Hadn't even planned on bringing this up, but last Saturday I jumped up 7 in the morning and jumped in the Jeep, took off, went up north. It was a balmy 5 degrees. Got up to deer camp, and I think when I left later in the evening it was 9. But I worked outside the whole day, cutting a couple old stands apart, and one of them was a big tower blind that was rotted. And I was up. I had somebody on site, wasn't helping me, but made sure I did it the safe way and didn't get into any trouble. So that's why it took me a little bit longer. But I spent all day outside working, cutting stands down, cutting them apart, hauling them to the dump, cleaning up and getting ready for next year. And there's something very rewarding about looking forward and getting ready for that next coming season.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's an hour drive to the farm for me. And I spend usually all day, but I lose track of time. Next thing I know, it's, 4 or 5 in the afternoon. It's like, I need to get back to the house.
Right.
But, yeah, there is one platform I built last year. I built a whole platform for an elevated blind that's 7.5 foot off the ground. And the only thing I used other than a hammer and nails was my EZ Kut tools to cut all the lumber to create that. It was nice to be able to have something in my truck without having to run back to the tool shed every time.
Right.
To just cut all that and make it all just the way I want it. It was really cool.
So you used all hand tools to build it?
Yeah, there was no power tools involved out in there anywhere for any of my stands. It's all done by manual labor.
He goes old school.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah, I do. It may not be straight, it may not be perfectly square, but it'll hold you.
Well, that's the important thing.
As long as it holds you, we're good.
So I tell you what, we're almost here to the first break. Let's go ahead and take our first break. We'll add this time here to the next section because we want to jump in. You mentioned EZ Kut, and you're a brand ambassador like we are. We want to jump into the tools that we use for what we do. So we're going to take a quick break. We're going to step outside, and when we come back, we'll jump into what we use while we're out on the habitat.
Pse Archery has reinvented the way you buy bows.
From now on, you can make the most educated decision possible
by basing your bow choice specifically on your shooting needs and goals.
All you need to do is ask yourself, what kind of shooter am I? What do I want to achieve?
PSE will help find the right category for you.
So, what kind of shooter are you?
Find out at psearchery.com.
Welcome back, second segment of the show. Before we went to break, we're talking a little bit about EZ Kut, building stuff, taking stuff apart, getting ready for the upcoming season, habitat, and all that good stuff. And everybody knows that we use EZ Kut tools here. Mark does as well. Let's just kind of run down through what you got there with you tonight, and then we'll just go, tool by tool and figure out how you use it.
Sure. So my favorite tool is the ratchet printer. This is a handy setup here. You can buy it with the sheath here. This is just an amazing tool. It's small, it's compact, and it'll cut forever. The first one of these I had over 6,000 cuts on it before I ended up making a mistake and breaking the blade on it. But these come with a lifetime warranty, so you buy them once, you use them for a lifetime. So I just gave them a call. Customer service sent me another one in a couple of days. I was back in running order again. So the ratchet printer, again, probably my favorite.
Well, I've got the actual picture up here of kind of like what I like to call the rebuild kit or the spare parts kit.
Right.
Run through that. Like you said, you just called them up and they sent the stuff out for the warranty. What's in that kit?
Yeah. So if you ever break this blade on here, I made an error. I reached over my head and was trying to cut through a 1-inch limb on a tree, and I torqued it too much to the side instead of trying to keep level with my cut. And I snapped that blade off. I was like, oh, this ain't good. All I had to do was go online to the EZ Kut page, ezkutproducts.com, or I reached out via their phone number and called and got a hold of Leanne, who's one of their best customer service representatives there. There's always somebody there, and told her the story. She's like, not a problem. I'll throw one in the mail for you. You'll have a replacement blade, within a couple of days. And sure enough, it shows up, and it's got the instructions with it. It's got the pin that you're going to need. You can replace a blade on one of those in about 3 minutes. Pretty intuitive.
That's nice. And the thing is, like you said, they stand behind their products.
Yes. I've never had a concern with if I did break something that they weren't, going to push me on how did I break it. They've always been able to be very user friendly with me. That our name is on this. We're going to support it. We're going to represent. And if you need something, we're going to send it to you. And it's on all their product, which is a great deal to have a lifetime warranty on a product nowadays.
Well, actually, you also sent another picture here of the pruners, but they got a color here for Danny, so you don't just lose them in the woods.
You must be talking about these guys.
Yeah, the pink ones there. Yep.
I tell you what, you drop the green pair, and you look for that as opposed to a pink pair.
Yeah, especially in the spring.
Right?
Well, and that's why I bought these, Danny, was because I dropped these when I was using my DR trimmer to trim trails one day. It fell in my pocket, and I'm always trimming limbs as I'm going, so I only went about 150 feet, but I had to search in that 150-foot area for 15 minutes to find these guys. So those don't go into the woods with me as much anymore, but I'm not afraid to take these in the woods with me because I can find them in a heartbeat just about anywhere.
Absolutely. And my brother for Christmas, he got the Sling pack, and he did get it in the pink just for that reason, because he has a habit of dropping things like his release.
We've talked about that a time or two.
He tends to drop it. His release has a pink ribbon on it. You wonder why. But just for that purpose, I tell you what, you can get it in either green or the pink one. And like you said, that ratchet pruners alone is well worth the price of just that tool. What you can do with it and what you can cut with it.
Yeah, absolutely. And you can get these, and there's a discount code you can apply that I've got a personal code. Brand ambassadors all have a personal code you can give like MC15 off. It's 15% off of anything you buy with EZ Kut at any time. So if anyone's ever interested in buying an EZ Kut product tool, please reach out to a brand ambassador. Let them know. We can usually help you out with some of that. That at least cover some of the shipping if there is any shipping. Sometimes you buy enough, like me, if I buy a certain amount, shipping's free. But no, you will not go wrong with these tools. They are made to last. I mean, these things, I have yet to to wear one out to the point that I couldn't use it.
That's one good thing about you talk about the durability of them. When I use my tools, I use them. I mean, I put them through their paces. I don't baby them because I know they're tough, and I've yet to break a blade on one. I did put a little chip in one. I haven't replaced the blade just yet on it because it still cuts. I was cutting some old wild grapevines off fence and on a chain link fence, and actually clamped on the fence instead of the actual grapevine. So,
and I tell you what, and my brother just popped in the chat that he says he got pink for that reason, not to lose them.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, there's a question coming in from JPO. We're talking about the pruners right now, but there's a question coming up, and it pertains to what we did with them up at the cabin.
Ah, yeah, okay.
So we'll ask that when we get to them.
Okay.
So, but yeah, exactly. And the one thing about you can buy the sheath for them, and you can have it on your belt, or you can just put them in your back pocket like you did, and take them out wherever you need. And I tell you, what's the biggest branch you've cut with just the ratchet pruners?
I would say the ratchet pruner, 1.5 inches. And that's a good question, Danny, because when you open this up, it may not look like you can get 1.5 inches in there because the distance between the jaw and the actual blade. But there is this unique little trick called a circle cut. And if you put this on a limb and you rotate it towards the jaw side around, it'll automatically start cutting through the limb as you rotate it around once. And that cuts through the initial part, and then you can just ratchet through with the rest. So 1.5 inch limbs are not a threat to me at all. I mean, these guys usually do the work that I need to do to get trails ready. If it's something bigger than 1.5 inches, then I move on to some of the other favorites of mine that EZ Kut creates and produces for us.
You mentioned the diameter, how big you can actually cut it. The first time one of the guys showed me that, I went, why did we not have these sooner? Or why did we not know that we could cut bigger limbs with these? I mean, I had them for just a little while, but once I learned that trick, you zip that thing around a couple times. You could almost cut a limb if you do it 3 or 4 times without even having to use the ratchet on it.
Yeah, and I have, because the way it's designed here with the curve, it continually bites into the wood. So as you rotate the second time, it gets a little deeper. And by the third time, you've got this nice little spiral cut all the way to the center. And it just makes life easier versus, trying to have to get out there with a saw and the limbs shaking and it doesn't, you can't get the teeth to bite in. The ratchet pruner makes that really easy. And they've been around since 1988. They've been around over 30 years. So this is a quality product that's not going anywhere anytime soon.
There you go.
Absolutely. And that's just talking about the pruners. So what's your next favorite one that you're going to reach for?
Oh, my next favorite would have to be the Kamikaze Straight Saw. So this beast here comes with a protective sheath, and as you can see, it's shiny. It's I've used this one, I don't know, probably 100 hours worth of use on this one already. Never had to replace anything on it yet, which is good. This is easy to clip onto your belt if you just get a carabiner, get a $2 carabiner, clip it on your belt loop, and, it'll follow you around the woods and won't get in your way. And when you do come up on a limb that's, bigger than 1.5 inches, it'll cut through it. Scott, the owner of EZ Kut, would say this is a chainsaw beater, that he can cut through an 8-inch piece of wood quicker than you can start a chainsaw and get the chainsaw running and get it cut through on your own with a chainsaw. The one thing I like about EZ Kut tools is they are all manual use. There's no power tools to them, and it keeps you quiet in the woods, keeps you concealed. It keeps, you don't scare off all the nature, and you're able to go through the woods and just do what you need to do. And if someone wasn't paying attention, they wouldn't even know you were out there.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Yeah. And one thing nice about that is that actually cuts on the backstroke.
Yes. Yeah. The other one is the curved one, the curved Kamikaze. This one is also a really good one because it kind of helps on, like you said, Danny, it's got this little curve here that fits your hand perfectly, and the teeth are designed to where it cuts on the draw, so you're not having to apply pressure going forward where you can put a little bind in your saw. It actually cuts when you draw back, and it's so easy and gentle. I mean, you don't even really have to have a strong grip on it for it to just continue to cut right on through the wood. These blades, they're finished in Valencia, Spain. And there's a little bit of an area right in the center of this blade you can't really see unless you lay it down and look, that's kind of hollowed down a little bit, a little thinner in the center. What that does is it allows air in there, so you don't bind up on a fresh piece of wood, where other times if you just have a flat piece of metal in there and friction builds up, especially cutting pine tree limbs and they get a little gummy, this allows you to have that even, cool stroke back and forth through it. And it just makes life so much easier. You're not winded when you're doing this. I cut 4 or 5 logs out of a way, in about a 5-minute period, and it wasn't winded. The blade never gets hot. Even when you're doing all that work, the blade never gets hot. So you're not, in danger there of hurting yourself as far as getting burned. It's just, I don't know. They put a lot of thought into this. It is held together with these 2 screws, and these 2 screws have recessed nuts on the back of them. So they're not in the way either of binding up when if you slip and run your knuckles up over this, you're not going to rough up your knuckles. Everything is very streamlined on this, and they won't come loose because they're recessed back in here into a cavity that's actually the same shape as that nut. So they all stay right where they're supposed to, and it feels good in your hand. I mean, it's got like a pistol grip to it. So just, as I always say, when you pick one of these up, you feel confident, because when you get a hold of that, you just, I don't know, to me, it just feels like you're handling something that's made for your hand, and it's very comfortable.
And I was going to mention that before you started talking about being hollow ground. The Wow Saw is hollow ground, and also their pole saws too. Am I correct in that? All their blades like that?
Absolutely. Here's the Foldable Wow Saw. It's the same blade, Valencia, Spain. They have this hollowed spot. You can't really see it, but you can. If you lay it down, you will notice that it has just a slight little area in the center of it to allow that airflow in there as you're cutting. This is a great knife for taking camping trips. It folds up, it's compact, it's not going to hurt you in its folded up spot, and it's not going to come loose on you either. And it's going to stay locked with this metal locking device, not plastic, which is a good thing, but this metal locking device, that anybody gets in your backpack, the kids go get it for you or anything, they're not going to be able to just pick it up and grab it and squeeze it and get hurt. You're actually going to have to unlock it, and then you can get the full force of that. And then when it locks in place solid. It's just almost as strong as the fixed blade. It's just a very tough saw. And of course, the Wow Saw gets its name from people using it and going, wow.
Right.
Because it just absolutely blows your mind how well this cuts through. And it is kind of unique because it does have these little gaps in between the teeth offset here. And these little gaps actually allow some of that debris that you're cutting to just flow straight back out. So it makes it even more of an efficient cut using this.
Yeah, when I go in the field to hunt, I always have my pruners in my backpack and the Wow Saw. Those are the 2 things that I make sure that I've got with me, even while I'm out in the field hunting. Because you never know when you got to cut something out of your way.
Every time I go to the woods, I find something I have to cut.
Yep.
And just
I'll go back to the truck and get my pruners if I have to.
And just remember, folks, these things are sharp.
Danny knows.
Because Mike tried to cut my finger off the one time. and all he did was just basically nick me, and they are sharp.
Yeah.
It's just one of those things.
I blooded him.
He blooded me, and you just got to be careful. So when you're handling these things, handle them with care, caution, and safety. I could not stress enough the safety, even wearing safety glasses, because there's dirt flying and stuff like that.
Sawdust flying.
Right, there's definitely sawdust flying. So, but you know, you've got, and those are the same blades. And they have a 15 and a 20-foot pole saw as well.
I think there's one over his shoulder there.
Maybe. Let me just take a look real quick here. Oh, yeah.
That must be the 15-footer.
Yeah, this is the 15-footer. I'm 6 foot tall, so when this is fully extended, I can hold it with one hand fully extended and reach about 20, 21 feet and cut a limb. It's just, it's very, very lightweight. The way it's designed, it's not circular. It's more of an oval shape here on the shaft, and it just reinforces the strength in it. It comes with a locking cover on it that has a release thumb press at the very end. So it's going to stay on while it's in transit, but then you just press and it slides right off. This one here compacts down far enough that I can actually fit it in the front of my truck, in the cab of my truck, and I have a mid-sized crew cab, and I can fit this inside of the truck so I can lock it. If I go into town, I can throw it in the front versus leaving it in the back and then hoping that nobody walks off with it.
Yeah, those things, I tell you what, if anybody is at a show, make sure you stop and look at the pole saw, the 15 or the 20 foot. I'm telling you, for what these things cost, you're going to be blown away, because the ones I've used before, the other ones you buy at the store, the way they have the little string you pull and you're trying to cut a limb, and then you have the saw and it's binding up, and they're heavy. These things, I'm telling you, they will blow your mind.
And that's a good one for people that are listening or watching on the show. EZ Kut is going to be at the West Side show at the end of the month. So if you want to...
Do you have that graphic that they had?
I will look for it here in a second. But like Mike said, get to a show that they're going to be at, because they'll show you to them. You can touch them. You can feel them. You can see how they work.
And buy them.
And you can buy them.
Right there at the shows. Okay.
Yeah, I agree with you, Mike. When it's the 15 or 20 foot pole and they've got it extended at the show, you see it from a mile away and you go, ooh, what's that? Mm-hmm. And then you get to actually go pick one of them up fully extended, and you'll realize how lightweight they are. That's
the part that blew me away, how rigid they are, number one. You'd think that, being lightweight, they'd have some flex to them. But these things, they're rigid, they're lightweight, and as far as the cut on them, they cut on the backstroke as well. So you don't have to apply force to it and wear yourself out while you're trying to cut 20 feet in the air. You just lay that up on the limb and you cut it on the backstroke, and I'm telling you what, those blades make the work so easy.
Yeah, absolutely.
And like you guys said, the 15 or the 20 is so light. My daughter, when we're out hunting, I'll get up in the stand and she'll go walk around cutting the limbs as well. Mm-hmm. Her and Gabby, they can handle it just as easy.
Well, one thing we've done, actually, we hunt not too far from where you're at down there in Indiana, Mark. But over there on our lease, we had a couple stands up, and put the cover on it, ran it up to the guy that was in the stand sitting up there, and he wanted a limb cut. And I'm like, well, instead of me doing it on the ground, it's you just extend it and did it right from the stand. It's that light. Make sure you're strapped in and everything so you don't fall. But it makes that cutting easy, where before you might not be able to cut something because it's just out there just a little too far, or maybe you can't reach it from the ground.
Yeah, because it's always that time when you get up in the stand after your buddy's gone back to the house, mm-hmm. and you go, oh, there's this one limb right over there. I didn't see that until now. Yep. And you can actually reach it from your stand. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm telling you what, these tools have made my life so much easier out in the field. I tell you what, how many more tools have you got there?
I've got 3 actually. I've got the G2s, the little G, and the force printer.
Okay, I tell you what. Let's take a break. We come back. Let's get into those, and then we'll dive into how we use them out. Actually, you're using them out in the field. We're going to step outside, take our next break. We'll be right back after this.
Pse Archery has always dominated the speed category. Now, the most revolutionary cam system ever to hit the market has perfected the shooting experience. Introducing PSE's Evolve Cam System, featuring extremely high let-off capabilities and the smoothest draw cycle in history. No other cam system has ever delivered this level of total comfort and total control. Experience PSE. Experience performance.
Welcome back. Third segment of the show. Lost track, but we got 3 tools left for the third segment.
There you go.
All right. So we've kind of run down the saws and the pruners. What else you got in your bag of goodies over there?
Yeah, we're going to step back to the pruner for just one more, and that's called their force pruner. This is not a ratchet pruner. It's just a straight-on force pruner, but it's got a very unique design handle that's very user-friendly with your hand. So you can get in there and, if you're trimming like rose bushes and you just want to get the job done at once and not have to try to ratchet around in there because of all the stickers, and these force pruners, they are the boss when it comes to getting things trimmed like that. It's really a really solid design, fits your hand good, and it's got a locking mechanism that's right here on the actual jaw instead of back here in the handle somewhere or underneath and inside. So when these are locked shut, again, safety is very important with these. You can put these in your pocket and they're not going to come open on you. You physically got to reach in here and slide that lock back in order to get them to open. Makes it very user-friendly if you just, like I wear cargo pants and I'll throw them in one of those pockets and they're just right there, easy to grab. Real good for about making a clean cut on something, where with the ratchet pruner, you might not be too concerned about a clean cut, but like on the landscaping around here at the house, the rose bushes, this is what you're going to want to use to make sure you get those clean cuts on every one of those stems. So the force pruner is definitely a force to be reckoned with, that's for sure.
Question on that, because I've seen them at the show. I don't personally have a pair of those, but using them with the other pruner, the ratcheting pruners, if something happens to the blade, we got the lifetime warranty, we can replace that blade. That one there, that's part of that tool, it looks like to me, as I'm trying to look at it here on the screen.
Right. So this one is 100% replaceable blade as well.
Okay.
Yeah, it has 2 recessed locking screws on this side, and then on this side, the other part of the jaw is replaceable as well with 2 screws here. So you can, every piece on here, you can replace yourself. If for some reason you lose this spring, you can replace that pretty easy. And then it's just 2 screws here and 2 screws on the other side. Just comes apart, slides right back together. Probably won't ever have to replace anything on this, but if you did, you can do it yourself.
Okay. Do you need to touch it up with something to keep it sharp?
There is there is what we call a carbide sharpener that you can buy from EZ Kut that you can sharpen these blades with, and it's just a small one. I have one in the pack here. I actually got it right here next to me. So if you was to buy this carbide sharpener, it comes with a little pull-off cap, and it has a carbide tip on there. You can just slide that along your blade and put that new finish on it and get that new edge, so that if you did bite into, if you're trimming like me, if you're trimming some rose bushes down low and I've got rock in my landscaping and I get into a rock or something, it might dull the blade a little bit. I have something right here that quickly can get it sharpened and back into operational use. I actually put a key pin on mine so I can slip it onto my sling pack and it just stays right there where I need it. Just grab it, pull it right off there.
That's a great idea. I've got one of those, and it amazed me by using that and just hitting that the ratcheting pruner blade and touching that up, how sharp and how quickly that thing made that thing sharp again. It just, these guys think of everything.
Well, that's the whole point. If you like what he's showing us, and you use all this equipment and you take care of your equipment, these things are going to last a lifetime.
You caught me there with a little bit of coffee.
Right? Drink it away on me. But, like you said, just a couple of going over that carbide sharpener, and you're right back in business. If you hit a rock or you catch the fence behind the rose bushes, you're right back to it.
Uh-oh, he's got the beast out there. I see him slip it under there.
I got probably one of my most prized tools when it comes to really taking on anything in nature, and that's the G2 Lopper. This is the Cadillac of all loppers that I've ever had.
Yes, it is.
It'll extend out, and it's designed, as you can see, it's got the red and the black handle on it.
There's a reason.
The red handle's ratcheting. So if you want to ratchet through something up to 3 inches thick, you just ratchet right through. If you just want to power through a limb, use the black side, and it'll just power right through. So you have that option. And the other thing that really makes this the king of all of them, in my opinion, is this little piece right here called the maximizer. This little hook, you slide it in and you lock it. Now, all of a sudden, you can open those jaws all the way up, and it'll stay there with that maximizer, and then you can still reach out and extend these arms all the way out and reach up. For me, I can reach about 9 feet with these. And a lot of times what happens with loppers is the higher you go, the closer together those blades get, because, you know, you're trying to just to squeeze the arms together to get more height. Well, with that maximizer, it keeps the blade open all the time until you get up to the limb. So then you have this maximum capacity at 9 feet, and then you can just ratchet through. Really makes it, you know, very user friendly when you're out there in the woods and you're just trying to get that one limb that's hanging down that maybe is going to, you know, scratch the top of your truck cab as you're driving by. These are the beasts. These things are made to last. And again, it's got this really rigid jaw on it. It's going to really bite into the wood and hang on to whatever you're trying to cut. And the same thing, you've got this blade here, and you can sharpen it up with the carbide, and you can replace this blade if you ever break it. That's, you know, just another one of those great things where you don't have to go and replace the whole unit. You can replace what's broken, and you can do it yourself, and you don't have to sit around or ship off a tool to somebody.
Well, you know, you got this tool here, and it's good size. How am I going to carry that in the woods along with my other gear? I already know the answer, but I'm asking for other people.
Yeah, so this can be a little bigger than you want to try to put in your pocket or anything like that. So it's like, okay, well, how am I going to lug that back into the woods with all the other things I want to haul?
Danny's got deep pockets. He can carry one in his.
That's where the sling pack comes in. This is made. I mean, you know, I think about ladies in their purses and some of the Coach and all these other brands that you can buy, but this is the swag, if there is swag for the outdoors, and that's this sling pack. You slide those G2 Loppers right down in the top of this. They'll fit right down in here like that. You can throw your ratchet pruners in here. Your Wow Saw goes in the bottom. It's made to hold all your tools. I actually put all my tools on at once and just had them all in one. I just grabbed the sling pack, grab it out of the truck. It comes with a backpack strap. You can throw that over your head, slip that around the back, and it makes it just convenient, comfortable, and you've got everything you need. It's rugged. This sling pack, the material it's made out of, it's got reflective material built into it, so you can find it in the dark. I mean, like you said earlier, they put a thought process into this of trying to figure out everything you possibly could need this for, and they build it into this. It is just one tough product.
Absolutely, and to prove the fact that it's built to last. When we first joined the staff a few years back, Josh
Hagerman.
Josh Hagerman. He had a sling pack that he gave us that was actually sitting in the woods for a year. And
they lost off the back of a quad.
And, you know, the ratchet pruners and everything, he says, here you go. And, you know, were they a little rusty? Yep, but they all worked fine. And
they all cleaned up good.
They all cleaned up good. And those loppers that you got there, the question is, so I'll present the question, do you carry anything for cutting bone or cleaning the deer?
Yes. And, you know, the G2 Loppers, they're going to get the job done quick. But as we talked about, you know, they might be a little larger than you just want to haul around in your pocket. EZ Kut came out with a solution for that, and it's called the Little G. Now, Little G has a locking mechanism on it. You pop it open, it's ready to cut. And it has this extra wide blade on it. And this thing was made to eat wood. I mean, it has an insatiable appetite. And it's small, it's compact, it's just over 18 inches long, and it will fit in your back pocket. It'll actually fit down in between your G2 Loppers in your sling pack, so you can put it in there with it. But it's small enough you can throw it under the seat of your truck, your car, throw it in your, you know, side-by-side, wherever you want to go. And again, it's got the red ratchet side handle and the power through on the black side handle, so you can just ratchet right through. But this right here, if you've got any bones you want to cut, this is the tool to go to right here. And it's compact enough. It's got rolled steel, which makes it lighter but stronger. So it only weighs like maybe 2.5 pounds. And it's very easy just to take with you anywhere you want to go. It is just so convenient.
So you're talking rib cage. You can split the rib cage easily with that. You can cut the legs. You can cut the legs off with that if you're having to take the legs off and get it out of the field for whatever reason you're trying to lighten the load. You can take and cut pelvic bone when you're having to split that pelvic bone open and clean that cavity out when you're field dressing. So yeah, there's lots of uses for that. I know the ratcheting pruners. Turkey hunters carry them with them all the time to cut legs off for birds with. So there's a lot of different uses. Another thing that we like to use the pruners for, I haven't used the little G's for, but the big ratcheting pruners, when we were taking and extracting deer jawbones, we would
yeah.
you reach back through that mouth cavity and then cut that bone off back by the mandible back there to extract that jawbone for aging deer. That's a great way to do that as well. So we come up with all kinds of uses for these things.
Absolutely.
Exactly. And my brother even says that I let him use the sling pack up at the cabin, and he cleaned up all around the cabin. He was the man.
That's why half the woods got cut down, right?
Right? Yeah, you noticed?
Danny's
I
old
actually
logging
got my
crew.
mom one of these Christmas a year ago. She's going to be 74 Sunday, but I got mom a pair of these and turned her loose on the bushes around the house. And I would come down a week later, and I knew she'd been out trimming because she won't pick up the stuff she cuts off the bushes. I'm telling on her, but she would just leave them lay on the ground, knowing I would come back behind her and clean up the mess. But I mean, she really went to town on a couple of bushes, and this was the tool she used. I've got a couple of pictures of her using it. It don't matter how old you are. It doesn't matter what kind of condition. If you can squeeze this, it's going to do the work for you. It just gives you that independence you're looking for when you want to go out and do that stuff, but you don't want your hands aching for 3 days. This is the tool to have right here.
Absolutely. And by the way, JPO, it doesn't come with a Deadpool mat. You have to bring your own.
But that's a good point. When you put the sling pack on your back and you have the G2 Lopper handle sticking out behind you, you can picture yourself as Deadpool when he's got the two swords.
Exactly. Yep.
It does make you feel like a superhero. I'll tell you that.
Well, speaking of making yourself feel and look and like a superhero out in the field, explain to us some of the ways you use these. I mean, we've talked about cutting branches, cutting limbs, doing all this. Is there some different ways that you use this that maybe we haven't thought about?
Well, actually, your imagination is the limit on what you can and can't do with these. But like the straight saw, one of the reasons why I always put that with me whenever I'm going to check trail cameras is if I got an area where I want to open it up a little bit to get some sunlight in there, maybe I'm going to put a food plot in there and there's just not enough sunlight. The other thing I use it for is to hinge cut some trees. I don't cut the tree completely down, but I let it kind of break over.
Right.
And that allows, some cover for the deer and some regrowth off of that tree. So it kind of provides a little bit of a bedding area for them, some secure cover. These tools are amazing at doing that. Just, who wants to lug a chainsaw down over a hill and up the creek just to hinge cut a couple, 3 trees when you got the tools right there on your hip that can take care of that? That's one of the great things about this. I've made a lot of hinge cuts this last year, providing some new areas for the deer to travel through, and it really changes the landscape.
And it's just, and like you said, first off, you're not lugging a big old chainsaw, and you've got 2 little tools that basically are on your hip, and you can move through the property, and you're not blowing up the property or anything like that, so you can actually do that. And then, like you said, you're getting ready to put in food plots in that in spring. Is there anything you do walking around the edge of the food plot or anything like that to open that up?
Yeah, I'll take typically the ratchet pruners is my first go-to just because I can do it one-handed pretty quick. The woods I hunt has a lot of open areas that has briars growing everywhere. And some of these briars are half an inch, 3/4 inch thick. They've been there for 10 or 15 years. Is to just have the convenience of being able to say, okay, I'm gonna open this area up and just be able to lean down with these, get the base of that briar and just snip it right off. And it just helps open that up so quick. That's kind of one of the keys also with the G2 Loppers and the little G is if you do have something that's a little rough on your arms, like briars and stuff, the G2 Loppers have those extendable handles. You can actually extend them out. And instead of working above your head, you can work down towards your feet. And you can walk along and reach in and grab one of those saplings and just snip it off without getting in those briars and getting all tangled up and, scratching the daylights out of you or ruining maybe one of your favorite, mossy oak shirts or something. You just, it's one of those things that they're universal. There's always something like vines. We have vines everywhere down there growing out of the trees, some a half inch, some 3 inches in diameter. And those things, they just climb all over the place. And when you cut one, it'll swing back and forth and there'll be 3 or 4 places where it's connected itself to the ground. These tools make it so much easier just to kind of go and snip and get it out of the way. It just, I don't know. There's just so much good to be said about something like this that fits in your pocket.
One of the questions that is being asked is, when you did your hinge cutting, what typical diameter of trees did you hinge cut?
The ones that I cut recently were about 4 to 4.5 inches, up to 6 inches typically. I don't want to hinge cut a mature tree that doesn't need to be cut just to hinge cut it. But if I've got a few of these, what I call nuisance trees, I don't know what the name of them are. They just seem to grow everywhere. but they only last about 10 years and they die. So I typically, if there's one of those in my line of sight, like if I'm opening up a shooting lane and I've gotten in a blind and I'm looking down that path at 30 yards and I'm like, if this one tree wasn't there, I'll go hinge cut it and drop it down, provide a little bit of cover for the deer to make them feel like they're not standing in the open and still be able to have that open shooting lane. Those are the kind of trees I'm looking at. I don't like cutting bigger trees that, I like trees. I like big, monstrous trees. And the only way they're going to get big and monstrous is like your deer. You got to let them walk. You got to let them grow.
Yeah, you don't want to be cutting something you can hang a stand in at some point either.
Right?
Exactly. That might be the perfect tree for that stand one day, and you just, made a hinge cut on it.
Okay, so now when we're hinge cutting, what's the preferred height off the ground that you're making that cut?
That's going to kind of be up to the person that's going to be using that space. For me, I hunt out of elevated blinds. I used to hunt on the ground, but I like to hunt out of an elevated blind. Kind of gives me a little better peripheral, gets me out of that line of sight of the deer. So I'll go up as high as 3 feet and drop that hinge cut up there around 3.5 feet. And it's still well below my shooting path, my shooting lane out of that blind. Now, if I'm sitting on the ground, it might be a different story.
So it's going to be situational. The situation is going to dictate the height of where you're going to cut it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, elevation, if you're hunting on a hillside and you're shooting downhill or uphill, that hinge cut's going to get, the elevation is going to add to that height. So you just, kind of want to look it over, get a view from the other end of it, looking back at your blind and say, what's this going to look like from the deer's vantage point or the turkey?
Gotcha. I'll tell you what.
I tell you what, we're coming up on our last break. But if anybody out there wants to go see these products, you can go over to the website, ezcutproducts.com, and you can go check out the website over there, and you can do some shopping. You can read about the guarantee. You can talk about everything you want. Just go over there, do a little visiting, and check it out.
Well, I'll tell you what, we're going to leave this up during the break so that you guys can actually grab the web link. Is the web link up there on that? Can you see it? Okay.
Right here.
All right, that way y'all can grab it. We'll leave this up during the break. You'll be able to hear us chatting back and forth, but at least that way you can see it and grab that and go over and check out their website. We're going to step outside, take our last break, and we'll be right back after this.
Acceleration is part of PSE's DNA. PSE pioneered the speed movement. Now they've developed the vapor category to help you find the most powerful bows on the market to fit you.
High speed equates to intense power and building the momentum you need to be successful. Are you a vapor shooter? Find out at psearchery.com.
Last segment of the show. So we talked about the tools, talked about how we use them in the field. I want to show a couple quick pics here. I was going to show it just a second ago, and I want you to explain this here. The green pruners. I call these trees the devil trees. You know what I'm talking about, these big thorn trees. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
What the heck?
Yeah, so, if nature has a sense of humor, it's showing it in those trees. Those things, I don't have many of them on the property, but you know it when you find one.
Yes, you do.
And the key is, the EZ Kut tools are designed to cut through any of that stuff, which is great. The key is when you do cut something on that is you'll want to make sure you've got your other hand on one of the limbs that you're trimming. So when it gets snipped through and it falls, that you've got control of it. Because if one of those does just randomly fall when you cut it, it can land on your leg, your foot. It's gonna make you do a dance.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you want to make sure you move them out of the path once you cut them, because you don't want to step on those with your boots, because those are some pretty aggressive thorns on those trees.
I have actually flattened a tire on the property on the bike when we were doing some cutting. Rode over one of those things. They are nasty. That and the other thing y'all got down there that I say is of the devil is the stinging nettles. Those things are vicious.
Yes, they are, and they I don't know. It's just like you don't even know they're there until you start itching, and then you look back and go, "Wow, I definitely walked through a patch of something I shouldn't have walked through there."
Yeah, I found out the hard way. I found out the real hard way, man, and I was chest deep in them, and they flat out tore me up. So yeah, the guys down there didn't warn me about that so much. They kind of let me learn on my own.
They let you live it?
Yeah.
Oh, they're nice guys.
Yeah, baptism by fire, so to speak. So But so, we kind of covered the gamut there of all the products and everything. And, we talked a little bit earlier on. You mentioned you've got a little bit of problem with coyotes down there. You guys hunting them here this part of the year right now? Are you doing any chasing with dogs or anything? Or how do you guys take care of them?
So the coyote problem has just started here in the last year. Early in the spring, I had there was 2 adult coyotes running the property I could see it on trail cameras. And then a few weeks later, I saw the female, and she looked like she was full of milk, so I knew that the litter had been born. I looked and couldn't find the den anywhere. Most likely it's on the other side of the property line. But there was one night where I caught all 6 of them on one trail camera, and that told me that we had a problem. And we haven't done anything to fix that problem yet. My brother lives next door to the farm, and he just, here in the last couple of weeks, went out and bought a night vision scope. So I think he's getting geared up to help us maybe provide some dirt naps for some yotes that need it.
There you go. Yeah, man, once they get established in the area, it's tough, man. We've been dealing with them for years up at our place, and I don't know, you kill 2 or 3, and I think 5 more move in. It's just...
Now, the other challenge we've got this last couple, 3 years is the bobcats are starting to be very, very apparent in our area down there. I've got at least 4 bobcats on a 60-acre property, and I'll catch them on trail camera sometimes carrying a squirrel or a rabbit, and it's just like they're such a great hunter, and they can go up them trees just as quick as a squirrel.
Yep.
So we don't have a season for them yet. Maybe coming one day.
Well, we do up here.
You're allowed 1, right?
You're allowed 1 a season. You got to put in for your tag early. You can trap or hunt, both ways to take care of them. But we've got them on our property, and I will tell you, everybody says, the size of a big house cat. Well, we've got them up at our place, and I've got trail cam pics with carrying fawns. They will decimate the fawns as well. I mean, they're just as voracious of an eater as the coyotes and bear. We have a problem with bear as well. So that's probably one thing you don't have down there in your area, I wouldn't imagine.
Yeah, we don't have bear this far south. I mean, one across the border up in the northern part or the southern part of Indiana, Kentucky. Mm-hmm. But bears, they're just, you don't see them. I'm going to say that's a good thing for me.
Right.
I guess if there was something that would scare me, it's a bear. I mean, I'm a pretty big boy, and I don't run as fast as I used to. But if I can outrun whoever's with me, I'm okay.
Take Danny with you.
Great. One of those things, eh?
Well, we got them pretty good at our place.
We got them all over the place.
You got them at your place too.
It's Bears are one of those things when you're out there and you got that in the back of your mind. It's kind of like, I don't know. I don't know if that's as bad as hearing the wolves or the bears. It's bad.
That's the part that doesn't really scare me as bad as knowing that there is the occasional cougar here in Michigan, and we've had them on our property up at our place. And when you see a cat track that big, it kind of gets your attention because you hear the stories out, people riding their bikes out west or jogging or whatever, and they all of a sudden you never hear them, you never see them. They're on you before you know it.
Right.
That kind of gets my dander up a little.
Yeah, exactly. And that's one of those things you won't know it till it's too late.
Well, we've got about 8-9 minutes here left. So where do you want to take this, Dan?
Well, since we got Mark on and we've been talking with Mark and he's become a real good friend of the show, we might as well make an announcement for the last segment of the show. And
I like that orange cup you got there, by the way.
Right?
Oh, this one?
Yeah.
You like that? That's a great cup. But for everybody out there in Facebook land and on the show, a big welcome to Mark Coleman to the Up North Journal family. He's going to be joining us as of today on the pro staff. So welcome aboard, Mr. Mark Coleman.
Thank you, gentlemen. I am honored to be part of the team.
Well, we're looking forward to hopefully some fishing trips or a hunting trip of some sort, and getting to know you a little better, or some archery shoots or something. We can travel a little ways that way, and you travel a little ways this way. So we got some adventures, I think, here, hopefully in the near future.
Absolutely. So look for Mark to be on the Facebook posting from Indiana, giving his take on what he can from down there or wherever his travels are going to be taking him. He's going to be doing some traveling to some shows as well, like we do. So we'll probably hope for some live check-ins or whatever he might be doing. Like we were talking before the show, he's going to be at some of the shows with Packer Max is going to be there. EZ Kut's going to be there, obviously. So stay tuned. More from Mr. Mark Coleman as an Up North Journal pro staff.
Well, Mark, is not a supporter of ours, but a supporter of yours, is go ahead and talk about one of the companies there that help you out. You doing some food plotting.
Oh, yeah, Antler King. Yeah, so Antler King is a company that I've tried out their food plot mixes last year. Was very impressed with the results that I had with them. They've been around the business over 30 years, just kind of like an EZ Kut. They've been tested. They still stood the test of time, and they provide products to feed your deer, to grow your herd, and to put in those food plots and have year-round food sources for them. Just a really top-notch company. I'm looking forward to working with them as well and building a relationship with them and helping the local stores around here start stocking that so that I can go locally and buy something on my way to the farm versus ordering it online if I need to get it delivered to the house. Because sometimes I just try to go to the farm on a moment's notice. It's like, man, I sure wished I had a couple mineral blocks.
Right.
And getting those stocked in the stores around here. But I do trust Antler King with what they do, what their products, what they stand for. Competition is good, but being the best at something is something you have to strive for every day. And there's certain companies that I represent, and I believe that Antler King is just like EZ Kut. They stand behind their products, and they've been tested and proven over time. So, yeah, shout out to them. Yeah.
There you go.
And one of the nice things about Antler King is they are out of Ohio, so they're in the area. They're in the Midwest, where you're at, where we're at. So they kind of know the business.
Yeah.
They
know the area that they're putting their product in.
Correct.
Absolutely.
The one thing I wish we could use supplements up here. That's one thing we're not allowed to do here in Michigan. Is use supplements and put stuff like that. We can food plot, but when it comes to a mineral lick or supplements, feeding stations, things like that, it was just
in the lower.
In the lower. Danny can in the upper.
I can in the upper.
Once you cross the bridge.
Right, exactly. So and it's one of those things. In bringing you on board, we're going to get the Indiana take from you from down in Crawfordsville, and that's what we're looking forward to, and having you join us here on the Up North Journal team. And I think it's going to be fun.
Oh, it's definitely going to be fun.
And I got to show one picture here. You can see what I labeled it right there, Danny. The one that he sent us here. You got to explain. You got the finger coming out right out there, right into the camera. It looks like you're ready to go big time wrestling. That's good stuff, man.
Sometimes the trail cameras are meant for nature, but other times, since I know they're there, why not go ahead and capture the moment and the feeling of the day?
There you go.
Yeah.
And that's what the outdoors does to us, man. It gets us all amped up and fired up, whether it be hunting, fishing, or whatever. That's good stuff.
Oh, yeah.
So
it's exciting times. I mean, I've never had a bad day in the woods.
No, some days are better than others, but you know what? What do they say? A bad day of fishing is better than a good day at work any day of the week.
Yeah, I've been disappointed a few times, but I've never had a bad day getting disappointed.
There you go.
That's right. Tell you what, I'd rather be out there than in the office.
I'll tell you what, if we ought to try to get you up here, and bring you up on the mountain, and get you up here for tack.
Get them up here for something.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm used to mountains. I lived in Virginia for 6 years. Not a big fan of mountains, but the view is wonderful.
Yeah, especially when you're on the top side of it.
Yeah.
If you're down at the bottom looking up, I got to go up there to shoot. That's a different story.
What's nice about that is you take the ski lift to the top.
Yeah. So we're looking forward to TAC this year.
We are.
So make sure anybody that's listening to the show, or whether it be or watching, and you're wondering what TAC is, go to totalarcherychallenge.com. We've shot that three times. Three times. This will be our fourth year coming up. So we got Michigan locked down finally as far as the date and an actual
date
venue.
and a place.
So, but yeah, they've got these things all the way from out west all the way over to the East Coast. So make sure you check it out. And I saw somebody today that posted on there, or maybe it was late last night, asking, "Hey, I just started shooting my bow. I just learned how to shoot a bow, and like 4 months ago. Is this something that would challenge me, or is it way over my head? Is it going to be too challenging?" Everybody's like, "No, you make it what it is. You go out there and you have fun. It's not like you're trying to keep score and beat somebody. You're going out for the experience of it, much like hunting, and just roll with it and have a good time."
And bring a good pair of boots.
That's the one thing I told the guy. I said, make sure you got comfortable boots on, because if not, you're going to hate yourself at the end of the day.
You will.
So before we wrap up the show, anything you want to throw out at us or talk about? We got a couple minutes if you want, and if not, we'll wrap it up.
Yeah, there is one thing that it just wouldn't be right if we didn't end the show with Danny asking me some questions.
There you go.
Oh, so he wants the questions. I love it.
He wants the questions.
All right, here we go. Tammy's gonna like this. Even the new guy on the team gets the questions. All right.
He's already thought of the answers.
I know, right?
Give him some different ones.
Well, I'm going to start off with the easy one. You're traveling to the farm. You got an hour drive. What are you listening to on the radio?
Hair Nation.
Nice.
I'm going to be listening to Keith Raw. I'm going to listen to Dangerous, Darren. I'm going to be talking. Listen to those guys, those DJs cranking up those '80s rock and roll hair bands. That's me.
All right, I like that. That's good. Awesome. All right, in that hour drive, you're going to get snacky. What's your favorite snack?
Yeah, I had to think long and hard about this one because there's so many different snacks. On the drive there, it's probably going to be a small bag of Funyuns or a Cosmic Brownie. Those two are my go-tos.
A Cosmic Brownie?
I've never heard of that.
Yeah, so it's basically there's gas stations sell them. They're just a brownie with like these little candy sprinkles on them.
Okay.
And I know I'm a big guy talking about sprinkles, but I ain't afraid. They're delicious.
I do like some Funyuns.
Oh,
those are good.
We won't talk about Funyuns. Okay, got your radio station. You got your snack. Now, you got Mike and Dan coming down to Indiana, and you're going to make us a meal. What is going to be your favorite meal that you're going to make us for dinner?
Yeah. First of all, I was going to have you guys, when you come down, I was going to have you cook me one of your favorite meals, but that just wouldn't be the right kind of courtesy to show visitors and guests. So my go-to would be to get out the crock pot that morning and get some deer steaks, put them in the crock pot with some, red potatoes, baby carrots. Let that stew, all day, break down really good. And then make some Grand's biscuits in the oven, have some biscuits and some deer steak and potatoes and carrots. And then we might, finish that off with a pie. Probably going to be a Dutch apple pie or a peanut butter pie.
Ooh, I'm intrigued.
I'm all over that Dutch apple.
Now, you do know that I'm still struggling with going through my weight loss here, so he's going to load it up,
This is going to be cheat day.
Cheat week or month, man, I tell you. Wow.
We'll hike 5 miles in the woods first, and then we'll come back and we'll eat like kings. Yeah.
There you go. Okay, I can handle that.
All right, and the last question is, we're sitting around the big old bonfire, having a few soda pops, and you're going to tell us a story. What story comes to mind that you're going to tell Mike and Dan that really hits home for you?
Yeah. So as our conversations around the fire go from one, item around maybe fishing or hunting or, riding bikes or shooting our bows, the one thing that I probably would always go towards is a deer called Roman. And she was a big old doe. And for 3 years straight, she haunted me in the woods. We had many encounters, and I never had that chance to really draw on her where I felt like I could make an ethical shot. And about 3 years ago, she came out of the woods with 3 other does, saw me sitting in the stand. She knew I was there, made it halfway across the open field in front of me at 40 yards, and turned around and ran back. I thought, well, I blew it again. This is the 5th time this season that she's busted me. And about 20 minutes later, here she came back up to the edge of the woods, and I already was ready this time. I was already prepared exactly where I wanted her to stop. And she came across in front of me, not really at a trot, but not walking either. And when I whistled at her, she stopped at 41 yards, and that's where she stayed. And that Roman, as we called her, because she had the big hump in her nose, I mean, she was just a big old doe. And, I've got 100 trail cam pics of this doe. And to me, that was the story that I would tell and retell every time we have a chance when it comes to sitting around a campfire about how smart a big old doe can be compared to some of the other deer in the woods.
I just read an article this week. It said many of a mature doe has saved a buck's life, to live another day. And that's true, man. Some of those old matriarch does are some of the toughest animals to ever get a shot at, let alone kill.
Oh, yeah.
They are smart. So I got a question for you. So we've talked about hunting, we've talked about fishing, we've talked about all these cool gadgets and things we got. What is on your bucket list for a trip, or whether it could be hunting or fishing? What's the one thing that really gets you fired up that you want to do on your top of your bucket list?
There's 3 things. One, kind of related to hunting, and that is go to the ATA one time just to see what I love the most and see all the people in the industry at that one spot. That's going to happen one day. I'm going to go to the ATA, just haven't figured out when. The second one would be a whitetail hunt in Iowa. Just because of the stories I hear. There's big deer here in Indiana. There was one killed this last season that went 200 and some odd inches. Beautiful, beautiful buck. The third thing is I am an avid morel mushroom hunter. I have been since I was 8 years old. And the season always starts, of course, when the warmer weather rolls in down south around Georgia, Alabama. And then the season progresses, as the temperatures rise going north. So I would love 1 year just to go down to like Georgia, Alabama in the beginning of February and hunt morels for 3 solid months and follow it all the way north, all the way up to upper Michigan, actually, and just make a 3-month journey of finding mushrooms throughout all the states, all the way up to the north. I don't know if I'd step into Canada or not, but I definitely would like to follow the progression of the mushrooms, the morel mushrooms, one time, just to say I did it.
Wow, that's cool. I've never thought about that.
That's a heck of a bucket list. And an awesome one, true. Just think about that. If you were to spend that 3 months starting down south and ending up basically at the Canadian border up north, definitely. That would be awesome.
Morel, eh?
Yeah, because the morels only have a lifespan of about 15 days before they start to go the other way.
Right.
So if you catch them just as they're, the season starts, and if they're about 2 or 3 inches tall, start in Georgia, you could hunt a week, move north a few hours, hunt a week, move forth, and I don't know, it just excites me when I have an opportunity like that to see what it's like in other states.
That's cool.
That's awesome. And like you said, it's almost like doing that the going out west or the going to another state hunting, but you're just doing it for a mushroom, and they're just as tasty, right?
Absolutely. Well, I tell you what, folks, we run a little over here, so we're going to wrap up the show. Make sure you guys go over to Mark's Facebook page, check out all of his other social media, give him a like, follow, share. You're going to be able to see his stuff here on the Up North Journal page as well. And for those of you watching, listening to the podcast, the live stream here, do the same for us. A like, follow, share would be much appreciated. So next week,
don't know yet. Just remember, everybody, if you go to EZKutProducts.com, you can check out everything we talked about tonight, and go check it out over there. Next week, we'll see about getting somebody on.
All right. Well, we'll be back again next Thursday night, 7:30, same time, same channel here. Y'all take care and be safe out there. We'll see you next week. This episode was brought to you by
Pse Archery, Yamaha Outboards, Better the Hunt, EZ Kut, Packer Max, Deer Camp Coffee, Buck Baits, JPO Game Calls, Limwalker Game Calls, Wild Seasoning, Total Peep, Sunrise Archery, Scent Lock and Scent Blocker.
Thanks for listening, and join us again here next week. Until then, remember, as we always like to say, if you're out on the water or in the woods, shoot straight and be safe. Until next week on the Up North Journal.